So I didn't bring my checkbook, but anybody who wants to take a check from me on the terms that I outlined before, I'll run home and get it. So who's in? Okay. Seriously, that is not the way we do business. Brad Svrluga, founder and managing partner at High Peaks Venture Partners. I've been in the venture business since the summer of '99 when I was in my 20s and foolish. And for about the first 9 months of my life in venture, it seemed like the most ridiculously easy and fun thing in the world. And I was pretty sure that I would at least have the option to be retired by now. Yet here I am. So the world fell apart, as we all know. Somehow I survived and did not get kicked out of the business. And in 2003, co-founded High Peaks with two other partners, both of whom are now moved on, and we've been reconstituting the partnership over the last year or so. We raised our first fund and started investing that in '05. You believe the people who measure such things, that's in the top tier of performers from that vintage. A number of exits out of that fund so far. The first one we sold, a company called Pump Audio, which reinvented the music licensing business, to Getty Images, and then most recently, early this year, TXVia, which is the leading platform for alternative payment systems, where we were a seed investor, sold that to Google in what is, we're not allowed to say the numbers, but it's one of the 5 biggest exits in the New York area in the last 5 years. The second fund is out of the gates very strong. We started investing that in late 2010. Just next week, we'll close our 16th deal from that fund. We sold Groupon, or Savored out of that fund to Groupon a couple weeks ago. And we have a couple more things in the works that are going to, I think, give a very exciting end to our year as well. I was not an operator before getting into the venture business, and I had a bit of a crisis of personality in the midst of my venture career, and decided I needed to be. So when the board of one of the companies that I had led a deal in asked me to try to go in and fix it a few years ago, I said okay, and I took a brief time out from my life in the venture business and ran a company called Threadsmith for about 1.5 years. And I would say that, 150% of the most terrifying moments of my professional life were during that experience, as well as 150% of the most satisfying moments of my professional life. We did get it turned around and successfully sold it to Vistaprint right at the beginning of 2010. As a firm, the ethos and the culture that I've tried to build is one of that's focused on truly being relationship capital. There is nothing I find more important or that I hold more dear than the partnerships that we form with the CEOs and founders that we back. And there's nothing I'm more proud of as an investor that of the 24 deals I've done over the last 10 years, you could call 100% of those CEOs and they would say working with Brad is a great idea, working with High Peaks is a great idea, and we are firmly committed to making sure that continues to be true. That doesn't mean we're easy, friendly, always the nicest guys in the room. It just means we're fair and that our focus is always on not our companies work for us, but we work for our companies. So what are we interested in right now? We are all Series A, seed and Series A. We are purely IT oriented. We are also 100% New York City based and biased. And why is that? 2 reasons. One, I don't think there's anywhere in the world right now that's more exciting than this city from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And 2, I don't think there's any effective way to do really early stage investing if you can't do the sorts of things that I did last night, which is when one of my favorite CEOs called me in the middle of the day and said, hey, we've got this big opportunity. I'm having a hard time thinking it through. Can we get together? And so we went out and had a couple of beers and chewed on it for a couple of hours, and I think he's in a better place as a result. Thematically, what we're interested in, I think very passionately that there has been no more exciting time in my life in the venture industry than right now. I think, you know, what we've seen in the first 15 years of the internet was batting practice to a game that we're now at best in the first inning of, and the way that ubiquitous mobility, ubiquitous bandwidth, the first generation of purpose-built devices for consuming and interacting with the web, it's an enormous range of opportunity. Where we're most focused in that regard is on lightweight enterprise applications, so taking some of the lessons from consumer design and consumer experience, bringing them into enterprise applications and changing the way business processes get managed, and very importantly, the way those applications can get sold into enterprises. The CIO has lost his power. Applications are getting adopted through the back door and proliferating, and that's a big part of what we're focused on. And a couple of examples there, we invested in a great company called Public Stuff that's doing that in the municipal government world, Field Lens in the construction space, Ticketfly, which has started to change the way the ticketing business works. So largely B2B oriented. We do some consumer as well, although all kind of solving hard consumer problems, not the traditional B2C stuff. And Matt is standing, so I will sit.
Hi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.